Hello everybody, we're going to go into the final video here. These are going to be the final tips and takeaways for this series. It's not an exhausted list by any stretch. There are many things that we can go into here, particularly on the app side, and whether you want to work solely as Google Suite and work solely online, then you can do that. If you want to work with solely apps, you can do that. If you want to have a bridge of the two, you can do that also. We can work with however you want to work, and your workflow suits the way that your classroom works. The reason I've not gone into the presentation here is because one of the key tips and takeaways is the share function. The share functionality can happen in the app. Here I'm within the app, but I'm in PowerPoint. You can see that the menus are vast in here, and there are many things we can do in here. For students, we can, there's such a huge suite of tools within PowerPoint that are largely untouched, but are extremely useful for time saving. So the share function in here, this will bring what's called the share sheet, and then you will get a very similar share box or share sheet like this that lets you go and change the permissions in here, and it looks exactly like it does on the web, as I showed in previous sessions. The one thing is that by default it is in edit and not view, so that's the reversal of what happens in Google. That sharing is for that file only. However, as I talked about, you can share just the file itself within a teacher folder. So what that can be shared out to groups, and it can be shared out to students, and they will only have access to that file. So while we're talking about sharing, what we'll do is just minimize this screen and then go into OneDrive itself and look at the sharing in there. So here I am in my OneDrive, and you can see that when I was showing you how it behaves and works a little bit like Google Drive, in fact it's very similar to Google Drive as you start to look at how the menus are laid out, with the exception of the Teams on here, because like I mentioned, we don't have Gmail and we don't have Google Chat. We have Outlook and Teams Chat. This is how we are able to go and seamlessly move things around within our Teams and our Teams assignments as a replacement for Google Classroom. So the share in here, the share function is here. So you have the same share sheet. By default, once you share it, it'll be in edit. And that goes for any folders that you have in your Teams files. So your Teams sort of OneDrive. Remember the language that we talked about: OneDrive, Office, and SharePoint and Teams folders are all very similar things. It's just that Office is where you create, OneDrive is where you store, and then Teams is where we chat. So in terms of sharing and permissions, let's go into our Teams, which is here, and then we can go into our Teams folders here. So we've got it either in channels or the library. It's the same place, because as we looked at before, this is kind of like a skin and overlay of SharePoint, which was built long before any of this was made. So bearing in mind that SharePoint is the bones of everything, this is more or less the skin and the flesh. So in here you've got the teacher only one, and then recently this has been made. So inside here you can go and put resources and what have you, and they can be shared. And then while we're still talking about sharing, there are rules according to the sharing. So the simple rules that are who has access and who has edit, who is an owner, who is a manager, who is an editor, etc., who can only comment, for example. That happens in here, and also when you share it, you can also automate this, which is very useful. So if you have something in here and you want to go and create a rule, there's a rule in here that says, when files are added, when something's deleted. So if you're a manager of a particular folder and you know that it has crucial information, if something's deleted, it's maybe a good idea just to have an alert on this to see when something is deleted. If something is deleted you have a recycle bin, but crucially, anybody who is a manager, the recycle bin, as I mentioned in SharePoint, is much deeper, and it has right across your teams and your groups. Remember that SharePoint is about groups as well, so it's about the grouping of people who have the backbone of those files and folders. So while we're talking about sharing, we can go into Teams and just have a look at the sharing of files across classes and with students and groups. So what I'm going to do right now is just switch my screen out and go into a team that I made earlier in the example, which was with Mackenzie, and to see the assignment that he was set and which files he has access to in that assignment. So the test class that he was in is called EdTech Tips and Tricks inside here, and the students will have this set up like this. Within sharing, let's go into an assignment. Let's go and see the assignment that was set for today, for tomorrow, sorry. And then you'll have your classes down here, and let's go and take a look at the actual assignment, taking action in student view. Remember, this is something that is available in here and not in Google Classroom. And then we change the language. Of course, it can be in English. This is just an example of something that I did last week for a student in Year 5 who is unable to read English, is new to English, and wanted German. So what he's able to do also is, if there's something that he still doesn't understand, he's able to go into Immersive Reader, and he can get the page to be read to him like this. So the sharing of files, here we can go and attach the files. We'll have a list of files that you're able to attach within the assignment, and those have different permissions set to them depending on what it is that we are setting. So I'm very quickly going to go and open up a window with an open assignment where we can attach the files and go into the sharing of files and file types within Teams for our students and show you how they look. So while you're in this window and you've got a new assignment, I'm going to give it a title, and then we're going to attach, and we can attach OneDrive files. So this is very much like Google Drive. You go in and find the files that you want. So I had something in student learning, and maybe I had my English work or my science work or whatever it is, it's in there, and then I can distribute that, and the students will all have access to that file, providing that it's in a folder that is shareable. So for example, that new folder that we've got for student learning. So when you attach, you can add links. Now, this is something that I might do myself, is I may go and get the file itself, grab the link. So let's go and share this. Copy the link. So anyone with the link can edit. So anybody at Bangkok Pattern School, for example, can edit. Attach the link. And then the title of whatever it is that you want to put in there. And then I'm going to go to attach. And then the students can go and see this. They can open it up both in the web, but they will also be able to open it up within Teams as well. So that once this is set, there'll be an option in here to open in Teams, and that shared file can be viewed in here. So I would do that if you wanted everyone to collaborate, which is one of the key requests. However, what I might suggest, just as we're talking about tips and tricks, is that you can come to one of my classrooms with your class, and we can see this when we can use something like Whiteboard, where we can have multiple collaborators happening at the same time. So create a new whiteboard, and they can create it for the students. If we add a file in here, we can also share it so that every student has an attachment, has their own attachment, just like you do in Google Drive. And then you can also go and put this into all students, future students, individual students, and then groups of students as well. So if you want this group of students, you can go and choose who you're going to go and send this into, who you're going to go share this to. And lastly, and possibly quite crucially, the many requests and conversations that we've all had about devices and how students will use this across multiple devices. So I'm going to change my screen now and put on a screencast which is about a minute long, and this is going to be showing and demonstrating how this all works as well on an iPad. So here I'm in Safari. Safari is probably going to be the best thing to use currently, but that may change, because if you remember I talked about that there's a different sort of behavior between sort of Edge and Chrome and Brave and other browsers, but this is Safari. So I'm going into office.com. I'm quickly going to go and just sign in as me. So I'm signed in, and you can see that this looks very much the same as it does on a desktop. So this is my my app launcher. So I'm now just gone into Teams. It's going to ask me to sign into Teams, and it will keep my sign in. So I don't need to go and put in a password. The students don't need to put in a password. It'll remember it in the password manager. So I'm going to quickly sign in, and it all behaves exactly the same. So you can chat in here, you can open up your classes in here. All my classes look the same, the menus look the same, they behave the same. And finally I'm going to go into PowerPoint and just show that I can open up PowerPoint and I can edit a PowerPoint too. So I'm just going to open up a PowerPoint that I've been using for this presentation, and I can go and tap on the thumbnails, and then I can just go and edit this just by simply double tapping on the page. So any students that use iPads in the classroom, they can go into here and they can use it just as they do on the desktop and on the laptops. So I'll finish here with back to my desktop, away from the iPad, and I hope that this showcase irons out a few wrinkles and also inspires a few more ideas that you may want to get in touch with, so that we can work together with your classroom and your students. As always, get in touch if you have ideas. Thank you.